Well, happy Saturday everybody and welcome to our award-winning show, our Craft Along, one of my all-time favourite shows. I mean, no bones about saying how much I love a Craft Along because it is literally real time crafting in this full hour where we start a project and hopefully, fingers crossed and everything else, we get that project finished. Now, for those people that don't know, my name is Debby Robinson and welcome to Crafters TV here on this fine Saturday afternoon. I hope you're keeping very well. What are you getting up to? Now, I'll let you into a little secret. This is a little bit of a pre-record show. So, although we're not live and interactive in this show, we do have one of our social media superstars looking after you all, where you can chat between yourselves, ask those questions, and they'll do their very best to answer them whilst this show is going out. So, yes, shall we get started? What is the Craft Along all about, I hear you ask? Well, it is all about our fabulous, one of my favourite Christmas ones, our Oh Christmas stamps. Now, I absolutely love these stamps because they are literally a stamp that you can spell out whatever word you want to say related to Christmas, but because some of those fabulous stamps allow you to create that little bit more. But here is your Craft Along project. So we are going to tackle a little bit of colouring. So if you come in, you can see a little bit of colouring. I've used them so that we're going to do a little bit of a masking technique. So you can see that those literally are all masked along each other, so it doesn't look like there's any joins anywhere. You are also going to use it and create a little bit of an edgible factor onto the edge of your card too. So literally, we're going to throw everything at this. Maybe I might have been a bit ambitious in an hour, but we'll give it a go. I will give it a go. Now, as always, when you finish your projects, please do tag me in your makes because although I'm not live with you, I still love to see what you've created. Maybe you want to use different colours, different Christmas papers, maybe you want to spell a different word, then just tag me. Let me have a look at what you've done. But hopefully you'll learn a couple of little techniques that maybe you've not tried or you haven't done for a while and that you can revisit. So, I hear you ask also, what are the ingredients that we are needing for this Craft Along? Well, I'll get my little list and I'll tell you everything that you're going to be needing. So, of course, we're going to need the Oh Christmas stamps. You're also going to need some masking roll. So we've got some masking roll and tri-blends or any colouring medium that you want to use. You might want to try some pencils, you might want to do a little bit of watercolour. Of course, if you are using alcohol markers, one of my favourite go-to pens is the tri-blends, but you can use your classics or illustrators as well. And the colours that I've chose for this project, because of the way that I've designed it to work with the papers that I chose, the colours are dark red blend, dark red shades, true blue shades, fair skin and ice grey. Also, one of my little favourites is a white gel pen. So to create that lovely little effect that you see running down the side there, I've used a white gel pen. You're going to need some white card. I've used our luxury silver glitter card. So that's from the luxury silver glitter mixed packs where you've got the satin, you've got the mirror and you've got the glitter cardstock. So I've used the silver from there. Also, we have got a scoreboard or an Ultimate Pro that you need just to get your card base made and a guillotine. Alcohol proof, if you are colouring in with your alcohol inks, you need the alcohol proof ink pad. I've used black, but there are other 4 colours that you can choose from as well. If you are using a water-based medium, switch that ink pad to the waterproof one. That's just in case you're colouring in with a different medium to alcohol pens. A stamping platform, essential to get that perfect stamp every time, whether it be a rocker block, whether it be our stamping platform, whether it be our the sticky one that I call it with the sticky base. Any stamping platform to be able to use. You're going to need some scissors and then your choice of glues. So whether it be all-purpose, tacky glue, foam pads, any choice of glues that you're going to need for this project. And then lastly, my chosen papers came from the Sparkling Winter Box. You can use any of our Christmas papers. It's entirely up to you, but that's the ones that I've chose. And I've also taken out of there one of the sentiments, one of the foil sentiments. So that is everything that you need to create that beautiful card. Says me, beautiful card, bigging myself up there. Well, it is a lovely card and I really enjoyed making that. So we're going to get straight in there because obviously I can't read any comments out because you guys are going to be chatting amongst yourselves. But please do, any questions you want, our lovely social media superstar will look after you and answer those questions. And as always, if you're ever stuck with anything or you want any advice, you can always reach me in my DMs, whether you follow me on Instagram or whether you follow me on Facebook. And I'll do my very best to answer those questions for you. Right, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to need is your white cardstock because we're going to concentrate on the base of the card. I am going to use the Ultimate Pro because it's my go-to tool when I want to make my base cards. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm going to put that on the half fold A4. So we're going to pop this score line down just very gently just to get that going and then fold into that. And then burnish. We are going to trim this down though because we're not making a full-size card. It was just to get that first fold going. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to measure the card. Now, if I remember rightly, I did this at 5.5 by 7.5. Yes, you did, Debbie. So I'm going to pop my guillotine. I'm just going to use my large guillotine for this one, just so that I can get the perfect measurement. If you've got a paper trimmer would work as well. But we just want to chop this card down to 5.5 inches by 7.5. So you're not really chopping a lot off, but it's just to get it to that perfect size that I want for this particular project. So that's our card base done and dusted. Now, before we go into any measurements, and so we'll come back to the guillotine with our backing papers, our mats and layers, we're going to concentrate on creating using our stamps. So literally, now you'll see I've already done some masking. Don't worry because I am going to do and show you how to do that masking. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to choose a word. Now I've chose Noel for our Christmas. If you want to do holly, I think that'd fit on there, jolly would fit on there, snow would fit on there, but I've chosen a 4-letter one. And just looking at it now, if you are going to use anything a little bit longer, you'll just need to probably extend your card length. So think about the words that you're going to spell and then work on that. So that's a 4-letter word that's running around there. If you were going to a 6-letter word, of course, you're going to need that extension there. So for me, I'm going to use the Noel again, and we're going to stick to that one. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have our placement of our little Father Christmas. Do you want him on straight? Do you want him on wonky? How do you want him and how do you want to place him? Now, I always look at this, and this is what I do with when I do this at home. I just get the rest of the word that I want to spell. Now, we're not going to be stamping with this first. We're going to do this after. But just to get the placement of my Father Christmas correct, or for, you know, where I want him, I'm just going to place my words onto there so that I can get the placement that I want. I roughly know sometimes you can judge that straight off, but just so you can see that the placement of where my Father Christmas were, it's pretty spot on, to be fair. So I'm just going to move those off because we're not going to do anything with those just yet. And then I'm going to extend. In fact, no, I'll leave that fully based. I'm going to bring in my stamping platform. I'm going to keep my little Father Christmas there. Now I'm using the sticky back one, which was where if you've got a magnetic one, you can use the magnetic one as well. But this just keeps my cardstock into place. And then we're going to pick up that stamp. And what I'm just going to do is make sure that that base isn't going anywhere. So I'm going to stick that down because this is the sticky one. If you've got your magnets, just hold your magnets into place so that it's in the perfect position. And then we're going to ink up with our ink pad. So I'll just move that out of the way for a second. And we're going to ink our little Father Christmas with your correct ink pad for your correct medium that you're choosing to colour with. So of course, tri-blends, they're alcohol based. So we're going to use the alcohol proof. So nice coverage. Bring that back in and then we can place that over the top. And I tell you what, a little top tip I'm going to give you is get a little bit of low tack tape, because can you see how your base is lifting? I'm just going to put a little bit of tape just onto there just to stop that front part from lifting. And then when you're happy with the position, push down over the top. And you've got your little Father Christmas stamped. Now, to do the masking, we're going to have to do this again with a little bit of masking tape. So I'm going to bring a bit of masking tape in. Just grab my scissors. And you're going to need enough to create the full word, because for the words that we're going to be needing to mask are the O that I've just stamped out, the E as well. So the E and the N, the E and the O are the two that we're going to be restamping to create that mask effect. So the first thing I'm going to do is just quickly ink this. Now, it doesn't matter too much if you haven't got, you don't have to use a stamping platform or anything. We just want to get a good cut around there so that that's the mask. Whilst I'm there, I am going to use the E. So let's pop an E down, and we're going to stamp on there as well. And again, don't worry too much. All we're wanting is the outline before we get stamping and doing our masking technique. So next thing we need to do is grab our scissors. Now this is a low tack, it's not a high tack, it's a nice low tack, but it's perfect for, I used to use post-it notes many moons ago, but post-it notes only have a tack at the top. They don't have a full tack, so this is a masking tape, which is always a good one to have, and there's quite a lot on your masking tape, and the best thing about it is that you can reuse this over and over again until it's no more. But it's just cutting around, so either use your little snippy scissors, or I've got the middle-sized scissors here, and just to create the mask that we need to go back over our stamped image. I'll do my E as well while I'm here. And then I'm going to come in and do exactly the same here. Now, it's worth it doing it for, because if I were to tell you with the style of the card that we've done, and I'll bring it in just for a second to show you what I mean, is that the only part of the masking that we're doing is here on the underneath. So you don't necessarily have to go in all the nooks and crannies, but because I'll be reusing this, I'm going to make that effort now rather than after. But it's just literally to go around the outside of that stamped line to create that mask. And there we go. So we've got those two ready. So I can dispose of that now. I don't think I'll be able to use any more of there. And then we're going to bring back in our card base. And I'm keeping it on the platform for now. What we're going to do is we're going to cover over Father Christmas. Now, it needs to be literally right over all the area. So and that's why it's important to try and get that perfect cut around it and just line it over the top so that you can't see the original image. And then the first thing we're going to pop on there is the N, and this is down to you where you want, how much do you want covered up? Now, I want a little bit showing, but what I'm talking about is going to be hiding underneath his hat. So I'm just going to create, and again, if you want to have a little bit of fun with this, you can place these around wherever you want, but just be mindful of where you're going to come in and with the measurements that we're going to talk about later. So I'm going to try and keep it a little bit in line to get that edgible factor going. So I'm just going to have a little play until I'm happy with where that is. Yeah, I think I'm happy there. And then the same with your E. We're going to pop down, because that's going to be underneath Father Christmas. It's going to be underneath the O. But again, I'm just trying to keep it so it's almost like in line. Now, we're not going to put the L on yet. The L is going to be the last one we do. So the thing we need to do first is make sure we've got our stamp on there. And then we're going to ink up. Now, you can see I already had a bit on left over, but that's okay because this is a platform which doesn't give you any room for it. Well, if you make a mistake, it's one of those that you can go back and re-stamp over where it hasn't moved. So nice little stamps with your ink pad. And then place that back over the top. Always a top tip, whenever you're stamping, go over where your stamp is to get the pressure down. And lovely when that lifts off. Now you can see I've missed a little bit there and a little bit there, so it means I can go back in. Now it's either I've missed it because I haven't put enough pressure, or I've missed it because I haven't put any ink on there and I've missed the ink. So we'll have a little re-look, and it was the ink. So perfect for that one. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our E on, and I'm not going to take the others off just yet, but I'm going to put the E down over the top again, and then take off that one and that one, and then we're going to put our L down. And again, trying to keep it in line. You can use a ruler or something like that, but just to keep it in line with each other, with the rest of the word. And then again, we're going to do exactly the same, where we ink over the top. And then we're going to stamp down our L. See, I've missed a little bit there, so I'm going to go back in. Again, it's either a question of I didn't put the pressure in the right place, or it's down to the ink. And again, it was just me with the ink. Because I'm like, that's a little bit clumsy. So I'm just going to move that out of the way. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take off. And this is when you put, so I always put my words back on. And then I keep my, as you can see, I keep my images and my masking bits back over there. And now I've got a couple on there, so it's absolutely fine because I'll just reuse them. So, and I'm just going to take those off to show you what I mean, because we can reuse those for a different project. Now, all we're going to do is we're going to lift off the E, and then I'm just going to take my tape off. And then I'm going to take off Father Christmas. And when you lift that off, then you get that where it's gone behind the back, so it looks really, it flows really lovely. If you find that you've missed a little space, I can see there's just a tiny bit of a space there, so I must have not gone right down on my when I was doing my cutting. It's not the end of the world. I'm genuine. It's not the end of the world. What you can do is you can grab a little art liner, and I think we might have got one in here. Yeah, we have. You can grab a little art liner and you can just join that up if you've missed an area. Okay, so don't worry too much about that, and I'll just join that up there. So that's just a little top tip. Don't think you've ruined the project. You haven't. Art liners come in really handy for that. Just going to peel that off because I don't need my stamping platform now, so I'm just going to move my stamping platform out of the way. And then what we're going to do is, before we start colouring, is we're going to create the edgible. Now, on my list, I didn't put the ruler, but you can do this to help you a little bit. And you can use your glass mat as a little indication of where you need to put your little line. Now, the only way we're going to put the line is at the top and the bottom. Now, if you feel that you can do that without the use of a ruler and a pencil, then absolutely do that. That's absolutely fine, because we are literally just chopping away around there, and around the words. So I'm going to go in and go up to, now not right up to the L, because I want to leave a little bit of space. We'll take that out in a second. And I'm just going to come down here, because we're going to create an edgible now using our scissors. So again, I've not gone right down to where the stamped image is, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut that around. Now, depending on your dexterity, you might need to use your smaller scissors. So I'm going to chop away some of that to get rid of the excess. And it depends how close you want to go, and it depends how much of the white space you want around the edge of your stamped edgible, because we've kind of cheated. We've not used a die for this, but we've created an edgible using our stamps. So I might switch to my smaller scissors to show you what I mean. And then just follow that around. Now I'm turning my card and trying to keep my scissors still as best I can, and try not to go too close to that lined image, because I want to try and get a nice even cut. So it can be a bit fiddly and a bit tricky, but you'll get used to it, and I think the more you do this, the more easy it is to snip into. So again, I'm going to come around that edge And I might, rather than try and get in there with the scissors, I'm just going to snip that into it and remove it. If you've got a craft knife, you can do this with a craft knife. I would highly recommend that you use I call it the wibble wobble one, but it's the curved one, not the straight edge knife. It's the one that gives you the movement where it's fluid movement. It just makes it a little bit easier when you're wanting to get round all the nooks and all the crannies of this stamp image. So again, just take your time. We're not in any rush. Although I know George is I've got producer George and everything today with me today, doing everything. But he's going to keep me in check with the time because we have got a bit of colouring to do, and we've also got some mats and layers. I'm just going to retrim that one because I don't feel completely happy with that bit at the bottom. So get your little fussy scissors, snip that in. There we go, and that's the last little bit I think I need to trim. There we are. So now we've created a little edgible without the use of a die, but by using our stamps, okay? So what we'll do is now we'll do the colouring and then we'll do all the mats and layers, because how much time have we got left, George? That's okay, pretty decent. I think we'll be okay. Now I'm going to normally I put a piece of white card underneath when I'm doing this, but because of white on white, it might be a little bit trickier to see. So what I've just done for you is just put a little bit of black card. I want it to be like acting as a little bit of a blotting paper, want of a better word. Also, actually highlights how bad I've done my cutting. Well, we're not coming too close there, George. We're not coming too close. We'll start with Father Christmas. We're going to start with our say it again, Debbie. Fair skin blend. And we'll start with his little face and take the lightest of the colours and just go all the way around his little facial features, including his nose and including his mouth in there. So first is the lightest, and then we're going to go in with the dark. So we know there'll be natural shadow underneath his hat, a little bit round the sides of his face there, a little bit under the eyebrow, side of his nose, and we're going to give him a little pale kind of tongue there. And then the mid colour, we're just going to take back up to the edge. And this is where you get your seamless blending, where you can't see the difference between that transition or that ombre kind of effect. And then back into the light. Gosh, that sounds like the poltergeist. Is it poltergeist? Back into the light. That's what that felt like when I said that then. I'm going to go back in with the dark one just to literally give that little depth and dimension in the little areas that I want it to be. So on his tongue, on the side of his nose, and a little bit under his curly beard. And apart from that, that's about all we're going to do there. There's not a lot of massive colouring with this. It's quite nice, little easy project to colour with. So that's the first one. We're going to take the ice grey blend, and I'm going to do a little bit with the light, just to give it an, rather than it being a stark white, if you just lift a bit of grey around the edges, it just gives it that little bit of lift. You can use things like your glitter, I'm going to say glitter paste, but glitter glues would work. Glossy highlights, little bit of glitter with a one of our glue pens. If you wanted to add a little bit of extra sparkle, I'm just keeping it now. We'll see where we get with the project, and we'll see how far we get on as to whether or not I add those little finishing touches at the end. And it's literally just to stop that from looking really stark and white, and to give it a little bit of a 3D look. And I am using the outline work of the stamp to go around that area, and that's literally just to give him a little bit of a lift. A couple of little dots in the corner, and then a little bit on his eyebrows as well, and that just lifts him. It gives him a little bit of the beard is not as flat as it is if you just leave it white. It just gives it that little bit of a lift. The next thing we're going to take is our red. So we'll take our red, dark red blend, and we'll colour the hats. So light again, start with a light. And then once you've popped the light down, we're going to switch to the the dark shade, so that's the other end. Now, it does tell you, so if you are using your classics or your illustrators, it actually tells you the colours. So I'm using dark red 1, so it's DR1, DR3 and DR4, sorry, if you was using your classics. And just look for that darker shade and the lightest and a medium one. So I'm going to go into the corner of his hat, down underneath where his bobble is, and again down this corner. And then the mid-tone, go back over where your dark is, not fully over, but where a little bit of that, where that end is. And then lastly, back into the light. Doing it again, George. Back into the light, back into the light. So that you get that nice transition. If you're not happy with the shading, go back in whilst it's still wet and just add that little bit of dark. And that's just to give, like I said, a tiny bit of shading where it needs to be. So that's your red for this one. We're going to concentrate one at a time. That's what I did when I was at home and when I made this project. So that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to stay in suit and we'll do one bit at a time. We'll concentrate on one part at a time. Now, the next colours that I've used are the True Blue Blend and the True Blue Shades. And what I want to do is create a little bit of a dark look. So I'm going to go in with on the True Blue Blend. I'm going to use the dark tone straight away, which is True Blue 4, and we're going to colour in around the edges now. Of where his beard is, and just we're creating a little bit of a dark background, and that really does make him pop. Again, you can choose any colours that you want. These are just my personal choices, and I love these colours. And because, like I said, depending on the colour of your paper that you've chosen. So, for instance, if you've got, and I always do this, I choose my papers first, and I'll show you the paper that I used. And apart from the red on the hats, I used, this is from the 8x8 Sparkling Winter. So that's the reason why I chose the colours. I always choose a paper first when I'm colouring, and then I can match my colours up with my pens or pencils. I find it much easier. Back in the day when I first started, I used to colour my image in willy-nilly. Literally just colour it in, and then I'd have the headache of trying to find a paper that matched. I used to cause myself so much headache, so much frustration. So that's why I do the opposite way around now. I choose my paper and then I choose my colours to match with it. So if you've gone for a different paper to what I've used, then please do make sure you choose your colours around your chosen papers for your mats and layers. So I've taken the True Blue shades, but then I'm just going up, and it's literally going up one colour. So the shade is 5. This one's got 5, 6 and 9, and I just want a little bit of a darker tone to come round the outsides. And again, it's just to give it a little bit of a pop. And then we'll go back in with that shade 4. So that's all I need for that one. Back into that lighter shade. And at this stage, I can actually shade down, so I can bleed a little bit of that out and lift it a little bit more. So you'll start to see as the alcohol evaporates, you get that little bit of a lift. Nearly ended up with a blue stripe straight across him then. Whew, that was close, that was close. Sometimes I do these things to myself. So again, if I just use a lighter shade, you can see that it almost strips it out and gives a little bit of a natural shadow. So if I show you again on that one, it kind of lifts. It's a bit like your eraser pen, or as I call it, the eraser pen. What I mean is the blender pen. That was the word I was looking for, the blender pen. So I'm just going to finish that off. Now, the last colour I'm going to use to the dark, really dark one. So let's try the 6 and see what that looks like. Yeah, that's fine. I just want a dark blue circle edge. You could use glitter again, or glitter glue to go around there. But I've chosen to stick with my colours. And that's just to frame him. Make it easy for yourself. If you've got one of those little Totally Tiffany colouring boards that you can turn around, use those If not, just turn your cardstock as you're colouring to make it a bit easier. So now we've got our first part done. It's not quite finished because this is where your gel pen comes in. So with you, and you'll have seen me do this many, many times, but to create a little bit of a little sparkling background, I'm just dropping down a little cross and then some dots, some bigger dots, some smaller dots, all the way around the outside of him. And it literally elevates it. So again, I'm just going to come in, add a few. So a little cross. Acrylic pens will work with this as well. Let me just get a little bit of movement going. There we go. A little acrylic pen will work. But it just instantly lifts him and gives a nice little background. I'm also going to do it with his hat. So if you haven't coloured him perfectly, don't worry. I remember Sarah when she first saw me doing this. Oh, Debs, I love that. Well, to be fair, the advanced colouring kit that we've had on at a fabulous price of recent times is the one that has taught me how to do that. And I don't do it with everything, but now and again, it looks really cool. And that's your first one done. So the next one we're going to move to is, we'll move to our N. So I'm going to get my red out. So I've chosen to stick to the red and the blues. I've not gone too adventurous with my colour. I have done in the past. I've used greens and yellows and golds and browns and things like that. But because of that colour, I didn't want it to be too conflicting because I've got a bit of red in his hat. What I thought I'd do with all the background ones is create the wet red. So whilst we've got this out, we'll do it for all of them. So I'm going to just literally now take my lightest tone. And I will tell you now, I am not going to overcomplicate things by doing shadowing and some depth and dimension with the stars. We'll do it with the background, but not with the stars. Just literally, I think you can overcomplicate things sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with a bit of block colouring. So what you could do, if you wanted to add a bit of character to it, is just change your shades. So literally move to the medium one, or the dark one, if you want to add a little bit of depth to it. So you can see it kind of lifts it again. So I'll just do that there. And you can be random again. So yeah, so dark one, might go dark circles. So I'll do all those little dark circles, and then I'll just mix it up between my light and my dark. So I'll come in light here. But you have a bit of fun. This is your craft along project. If you want to add different colours, have different colour multi-stars, you do that. You do what's right for you, what's right for your papers. And at the end of the day, it's your craft along, so you choose what you want to do in terms of colour and your colouring. And I can't wait to see. I hope you do tag me in them. I try to look at everything when I've been tagged in my craft along projects. I try and hit that I'm a Crafter's Companion page as many times as I can, what allows me outside of my work schedule to have a little look and comment. And I see some beautiful things on there. Some lovely inspirational people, not just our design team members or members who work on the team like myself, Debs and Sheila. There's lots of other people that have taken things and other ideas that they've got from other places and inspiration, like your Pinterest and your YouTube channels, and there's many, many creators out there that you can get inspiration from. Always lovely to see. I love going on that page. I try and get on there as much as I can, time permitting. Otherwise you start like going down a rabbit hole. When you get on there, you can't get off. Quite literally. Now I'm going to do the same with the circles. Now if you want to add a bit of depth to this, you can do, but I'm going to stick to the lights with the big circles. And again, you do, I will say, you do you, hun, or you do you, boo, as they say, the kids say these days, you do you, boo. Never sounds right from a 56-year-old, let me tell you. Right, so you can add, if you want, a little bit of dimension in terms of shading with this. if you want to. You don't have to, but let's go in. In fact, I've had some dark circles. What I love about these stamps is, not only can you make your own words up, is that they're not overly big to colour. Oh, I've missed a star up there. Look at that. How did I miss that? There we go. And then I'm going to do the same with the love hearts as well. I think I'll go in with the mid-tone with the love hearts just to set that apart. These are really useful as well, although you've got your O, but you have got some letters in there that you could use for maybe, you know, if you were making someone's initials. And I'll show you, if we get time at the end, I'll show you a few samples of other things that our design team have made. And we'll see how we get on, because I'm pretty sure George is going to keep me in check with the time. How are we doing for time, George? Loads of time. Loads of time, George. We'll be fine. I love it when I can get a project finished from start to finish. 9 times out of 10, I'm usually speed crafting at the end. Whew, literally, quite literally, because I've talked too much. I suppose this is the best thing about doing a non-live interactive show, is that I can actually get on with the project instead of talking like I normally do. Right, I'm going to use the True Blue blend now. So we'll start with up at the top. We'll go in with all the lightest tone first. And this is just now where you need to be a little bit careful when you're coming around the edges, so that you're not going over your colour. And I suppose it depends whether, I mean, I prefer to do it this way around, but you may have a personal preference where you colour the background first and then go in with your colouring of your stars. It's up to you. Again, it's your project. You do what's comfortable for you, not what I'm telling you to do. But I just find this a little bit easier. So that's why I do it this way around. So what we need to do is get all of that light, and then we will do a little bit of shading. So we give these letters a little bit of a lift. And we're also going to add that white gel pen again, which does really, actually, it covers a multitude of sins. If you've made a mistake, you could kind of have, it gives you a little bit of forgiveness in terms of how you can add some extra to it, so it's not overly, yeah, happy accidents. You can cover them up. God rest her soul, lovely Auntie Jean, her favourite cover-ups, not that it'd work on a Christmas one, but let me believe you me, she'd try it, would be a butterfly. She used to buy butterfly peel-offs or stickers, and she used to put them on just to cover up her happy accidents. No such thing as a mistake. And if it is a mistake, oh, I've missed another star down here, hiding underneath the hat. Yeah, there's no such thing as a mistake. Not in our world, anyway. I mean, sometimes there are dingers that we can't forgive and we can't get away with, but there's 9 times out of 10 you can rectify that. You can. So I'm going to go in with the dark around the edges, just round here. So I'm going to come in with my darkest tone. And I'm just going to go around a little bit of there. Not going to do a massive amount of shading, but we'll do a little bit of it. Otherwise, that time will run away with us. And again, if you just want to block colour, block colour. No right or wrong way. You do what you feel comfortable with. So the next, well, actually, I put a little bit just down here. We're just about to say we'll stop and we'll do the next one, but I'm going to come in and just add a little bit of depth underneath there and a little bit more around the outside there. So the next one is the mid-tone, so we'll go back in with the mid. This is where I've got to try and remember to talk, because when I colour, Don't know about anybody else, but I do go into what our Sarah affectionately nicknames a colouring coma. And I forget that, I mean, this is when you can be chatting to each other when you hear Debbie go silent, is because I am literally in my own little world now, doing a spot of colouring. And I can't help myself, because that's just the way we roll when we colour. And I'm pretty sure you're all saying the same thing right now. In fact, I bet you're not even saying anything. Unless you're chatting yourself and you're watching this and then going to craft along later, I bet you're doing exactly the same. So again, I'm just going to go back in now and go back over the light, just to kind of get that shadow look. And then what I've said is then we're going to get the gel pen and we're going to hide any imperfections and lift it. So grab your gel pen and exactly the same. So what I'm going to do on this now is I'm just going to pop a little line down each one of my stars. Sometimes we call this the preserved highlight, but again, it just gives it a little tiny lift, just randomly. Try and catch all the stars and not miss one. And then again, the same, little cross, dots, big dots, little dots, just randomly around your background. Really easy to do, really effective, looks really, I think, quite pretty. If you don't want to do this though, that's fine. Again, it's your craft along. But I love trying this technique out. I've done it on a fair few things. Not all of my colouring, of course. Yeah, that is a good shout out. George has just said in my ear, glossy highlights. Now, if you take your glossy highlights and go over maybe the dots or maybe the stars or the dots here, or you're going to add a beautiful enamelled finish to your work and it will look stunning. It just gives you that little lift again. It adds a little bit of dimension, because that's what glossy highlights is. It's a dimensional glue, clear coating. And looks absolutely fabulous. So that's a good shout, George. Good shout. On his nose, could do it on his nose. If you're using the Rudolph one instead of the Father Christmas one, you could do it on his nose. That would look lovely. So you have got other O's in that collection. You don't have to use Father Christmas. You could use the penguin, the snowman, or the reindeer. But yeah, that's as easy as that was. So we're just going to crack on, because we've got, now time will be running away with us. 15 minutes. Can we get this project done? Let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. So I'm going to try and talk and colour at the same time. Not an easy task. And when you're at home, you 9 times out of 10, you're in your own little space, in your little craft area, whether it be a dedicated craft room. You're on your own, you don't talk, you switch off. You might have some music on in the background. I have, this will be a little conversation between you all. What do you have on when you are crafting? I have, and I may have mentioned it once or twice, my soaps on. Because I don't tend to watch soaps live when they go out on air, and I can end up then having to catch up and play catch up. So it's my time to catch up. And when I say that, I mean like as in, I was about 2 months behind with Coronation Street. I'm now nearly caught up. I'm at the current stage. I am literally about 2 weeks behind, whereas instead of 2 months. EastEnders, I'm up to date with. Emmerdale, I'm about 3 weeks behind. When you fall behind on those shows, yes, George, it takes it's so easy to fall behind. It literally is. So yes, I'm behind that. Hollyoaks, which I used to watch, I haven't watched since January, so I think I'm going to have to give it up, because that is far too many episodes to try and catch up. It's on 3 times a week now, George. And for all our stateside friends, Hollyoaks is another UK drama soap. I can't catch up. So I think I'm going to have to knock that one on the head. And to be fair, I only started watching that because of my girls. And then when my girls grew up and they stopped watching it, I carried on. So now, I think it's safe to say, I don't think I'm going to be able to catch up. Although I did hear a rumour that Brookside, one of my all-time favourite soaps here in the UK, which got cancelled back in the, I think it was the 90s, might have been even the early 2000s. I've heard that they're doing a crossover episode between Brookside and Hollyoaks, which really excited me, but then confused me because two of the characters that were in Brookside are now in Hollyoaks. Don't know how that's going to work. But hey-ho, it might be worth just tuning in for that. So now I've done the colouring again, I'm going to do that little bit of a background with my dots and my stars and my little big dots, little dots, just to give that little bit of a background interest again. And I'm trying to speed this up because me, clever Miss Clogs, yeah, we've got loads of time, George, we'll get this done. Yeah, no problem. Oh, that's okay. Still got 15 minutes, only one more to colour and then mats and layers to do, so... But I'm not going to rest on my laurels. So yeah, guys, what do you watch? When do you listen to music? Do you... what is it that you do when you're in your craft rooms? A nice little conversation going there. So again, I've just got it literally rinse and repeat, with want of a better word, with the colours. And this is when you can, so I've done these before where I have actually mixed colours up. But again, this was because of the choice of papers that I used, which made me stick to the colour design. And the reason I brought red in was because obviously I've used Santa, or Father Christmas. And I wanted to, in keep with that, rather than just have one bit of red just literally randomly stuck there, I wanted to tie all of that in. So hence why I chose the blues and the reds. And I think it looked a nice combination, so to speak. So again, just going to go around, lightest colour first, trying to keep that within those lines. Going in with that dark, just again to highlight where we would have a bit of natural darkness underneath the E. And around the outsides again. Like I said, don't overly worry because your background piece will naturally cover some of that up. This is when I stay remain calm. He's just said 13 minutes left on the show, Debbie. So yes, we'll remain calm. Now that medium tone, just to blend out that dark and get that smoothest blend. And then lastly, back to that light. And literally, like I said, these aren't stamps that would take forever and a day to colour in. As you've seen, we're going to have completed this with it, hopefully, within the hour. And then last bit that we're going to do is we're going to just finish off again. I'm going to pop a little bit of highlight on the love hearts first. And then we're going to take our pen and again create that little bit of a background. So acrylic pens would work with this, and I think we've had acrylic pens in the past. If you don't have one, there's many out there. I got mine from a well-known company, I can never say this word, a Sakura pen. But you can use our acrylic, if you've got our acrylic, which was in some of our colouring boxes that we've had out in the past. But if you haven't, you can buy them. They're relatively reasonably priced on the World Wide Web. And then the last thing I'm going to do, just to make that pop, is go back to the ice grey, and I'm going to go around with the lightest tone, just to make that pop around the outside of the words, and that literally just makes that pop. And again, on the little bit of the white bit that I've got, just to bring that in. Just going around the outside there as well. And it ties it all in. Not forgetting the little N. And then literally now, that is the whole of your colouring done. Now, the next thing we're going to concentrate now is the mats and layers. So I chose our silver luxury cardstock. Now, we know that this base, the main one, is 5.5 by 7.5. So we come down 1/4 inch. So it's going to be 5.25 by 7.25 for our first mat. Our paper. Now, I did genuinely get this out of one sheet. However, I had a bit of quite a large border. So what you could do, and I think we will do, I'll change it up for this one, is grab another sheet of white, and we'll have a 5 by 7 base. And then with your paper, so that would sit onto the top of there. And then with your paper, you probably get a little bit more going your way that way. So I'll do this to give you the best shot of getting it a full out of 1 8 by 8 sheet. So that is 4 3/4 by, just make sure I've done that right. 4 3/4, yep. You know, you test yourself for your measurements there now. Like, have I done that right? Yes, you have. So obviously 7.5, next one was 7, then we went to, wait a minute. Let Debbie just do that, because that was the 7.25, that was the 7, this one is a 6 3/4, Debbie. Trust your instincts, girl. Trust your instincts. And that just gives that little bit of a pop on the back. And if I'd had thought about that at home, that's exactly what I would have done. Now, this one, dependent on how far you've come across on your card, will dependent on your mat and your layer. So a ruler comes in handy there when you are measuring, or you can take it onto your guillotine, take that up to, now don't use the guillotine, so make sure your arm isn't loose, but it gives you a little bit of an idea on your measurement. So I know that if I said 3.5 for the first one, we could go in at 3.5 by 7.25, because obviously the base is not, the width is, the height's not changing, and you can kind of see that's too much. So where you can either do it with a pencil mark. So I know that this one I'm going to get away with, let's have a little look. We'll try 3.25. Just keep doing it until you've got the right, and that is perfect. So that mine's 3.25. Yours might be slightly smaller depending on where you've put your placement of your words. So that's 3.25 by 7.25 by 3.25. Yep, 7.25. Yeah, 3.25. We're going to use that white again, so we'll go back to that white base. Might be able to get that. Nope, Debbie, you're going to do another sheet because that wasn't a full A4. But that's okay. So we'll go in now at 3 by 7, which will be the next layer. And then lastly, that other sheet now should give you just enough. So this one is 6 3/4 by 2 3/4. So I've got enough out of there now from my 8 by 8, just by adding that additional white sheet. And I thought, you know what, it makes sense to do that. Let you get your cardstock that little bit further. All right, so we'll do our mats and layers. So I'm going to put the first one on with my all-purpose glue, because this is paper going onto card. So we'll come in and we'll add that on to that white card. And again, that makes it look pop. It just pops it. You can then add little gems, glitter glue, all those kind of things if you want to elevate your card and you make that little bit more. That would look nice. So again, glossy highlights, maybe a bit of glitter with your glue pens. Obviously, I don't have time to do that now, but that's what you could do. This is your craft along project, and you could add those extra things. And I do think glossy highlights was a good shout by our fabulous now producer George, but today absolutely everything George. because he's doing everything for us. So literally, we are going to mat and layer the base. Now, I will tell you, I ain't wasting that. That is luxury cardstock. So grab your paper trimmers and let's extract that centre and use that for another project. Because seriously, I never do this when I'm at home. If I'm concentrating, I always extract the centres of my card, because that would have been all that wasted, and that's a lot there. It's perfect for cutting your snowflakes out with, maybe other mats and layers that you may need, just so that you get the most out of your cardstock. So I'm just going to add a bit of glue onto the back. I'm going to pop that on the inside. And then we're going to place that on the inside as well. So let me grab my glue again. And I'm going to place that on the inside. And then lastly, now you could extract that one if you wanted to extract that as well, because you'd get a nice little bit of another strip that you could use. But because we are fast approaching and really running out of time, so I'm just going to quickly pop that down. But I know you think I'm daft, but I do like my cardstock to go the longest way. And for me, that would be an absolute must. And then I'm going to switch, because this is a coated cardstock, so I'm going to switch to my super strong tape pen. You could at that point use tacky glue. This is coated cardstock. If I was to put my solvent-based glue on there now and it splurges out, I will end up stripping the silver back, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to use a different glue, a different adhesive for that mat and layer, which is why I put those down. I love the addition to the white from the original. And then I did use one of the sentiments out of that Sparkling Winter just for speed. You could be using, and if to be fair, it was the one thing that was at the side of my craft table. So I thought, ooh, let me have a little nosy, see if there's anything in there that I could use. I'm just going to remove my pips, because I can see pips are still on there. And then removing the foam pads. And again, you can add any sentiment onto there. Even if you wanted to add some more characters, maybe you wanted to add the Rudolph, or just as a little extra decoration. But I'm just going to put that now then. I might change it up and put it down at the bottom. Yeah, let's change that up a little bit. And then we're going to literally leave it there, because we have completed our fabulous craft along project, created a little bit of an edgible with the stamps, showing you a little bit of masking and masking technique, and a little bit of the colouring and how I do my colouring when I'm using my alcohol markers. But yeah, you should have finished yours. So guys, I hope you have enjoyed this Saturday's craft along with the old Christmas stamps. They are still available, I believe. Go and have a little look on the website. You get all of this stamp set. Absolutely beautiful. Lots of fabulous ways that you can use them. That's another lovely technique that you can do. Lots of different words that you can spell as well. So I've just shown you one example. These are some of the examples of our fabulous design team. And I'm just going to finish with this fantastic make, which is pretty similar to what we've just done with the masking, but just elevated in a different way. And I absolutely love these stamps, as I know you are going to love them too. But please do tag me in any of your makes. It's been an absolute pleasure to spend my Saturday afternoon, even though it's Tuesday. It's a pleasure to spend our Saturday afternoon. Whatever you're doing for the rest of the weekend, please do enjoy yourselves. And we'll see you all back here for a very special Bank Holiday Monday kickstart of the week, because we've got someone very special returning to your screens, and you must join us on Bank Holiday Monday with said person and McGiggles herself. So we shall see you all on Monday. Have a lovely weekend. Bye for now.